The cold morning light streamed through the open window, drawing sharp lines on the empty velvet-lined box that sat ominously on my grandmother's antique dressing table. The delicate tapestry of roses that garlanded the box was faded now, a stark contrast to the hollowness it encased. With a sinking heart, I realized the truth. It was gone. The heirloom engagement ring, a treasured family artifact, was missing. This was no ordinary ring, but a piece of history, a symbol of love that was supposed to be passed down to me. I looked around the room, desperation creeping into my chest, my breath hitching. The room was a testament to the past. Embroidered drapes, antiquated furniture, and sepia-tinted pictures of forgotten times, a time when the ring was worn proudly by my great-grandmother. But the narratives contained within those walls couldn't help me now. The truth hit me like a rogue wave in the ocean. It wasn't just misplaced, it was sold. My grandmother, the guardian of our family heritage, had betrayed me. The walls closed in on me, the lush patterns of the wallpaper morphing into tormenting reminders of this deplorable revelation. "I didn't think you'd notice so soon," came a frail voice from behind. I turned around to see my grandmother, her features etched with unnerving calmness. Pain and betrayal seeped into my voice. "You sold it? But it was mine to have, mine to keep. Why?" Her gaze flickered, guilt creeping through the crevices of her otherwise stoic demeanor. "We needed the money," she replied, her voice barely a whisper. She looked away, unable to meet my distraught gaze, her fingers worrying the end of her shawl. What followed was a whirlwind of despair. The sting of betrayal, the crushing blow of disappointment, and the overwhelming need for revenge took hold of me. I was plunged into a whirlpool of emotions that fueled a determination I never knew existed within me. As the days turned into weeks, I was driven by a relentless mission to reclaim the lost heirloom. It had become more than just a ring. It was a symbol of the legacy that I had been denied, a legacy I was determined to restore. As I started my worldwide hunt, I felt a strange sense of empowerment. I was not just retrieving a ring. It was a journey to confront the family's secrets that had been unjustly buried. Secrets I was about to unfold. As the vast unknown stretched ahead, I was painfully aware of the journey that lay before me. The ghosts of the past were coming alive, their whispers growing louder, urging me to find the lost symbol of love, betrayal, and deceit. I was about to embark on a journey that would change everything I knew about my family and myself. Little did I know that this ring was going to lead me down a path of revelation and self-discovery that was both poignant and profound. The fabric of my life is woven with precious moments that I shared with my beloved grandmother. I'll never forget the time she sat me on her knee and told me about the antique diamond ring she hoped to pass down to me one day. "This ring, it's a part of our family history," she would say, her voice a soft, lilting whisper, eyes filled with a soulful depth that told stories of ages past. "Your great-great-grandmother wore it on her wedding day, and so did I," she added, her wrinkled fingers gently tracing the delicate etchings on the heirloom. While my parents were navigating through the stormy weather of a financial crisis, my grandmother was a beacon of hope. Her stories about the ring, the tales of love, bravery, and resilience it encapsulated, were my escape from the grim reality of our family's situation. Despite our financial troubles, I had the ring and the legacy that came with it, a glimmering reflection of hope and resilience. But then, the unthinkable happened. On a chilly December morning, I awoke to find her in tears. The ring was gone. She had sold it. My initial shock soon turned into a bone-deep betrayal. The family heirloom, the symbol of our history, had been exchanged for money. A part of my soul felt bereft, as though the roots connecting me to my ancestry had been unexpectedly severed. "Why?" I questioned, my voice trembling. She didn't meet my gaze. Her own focused on the empty space on her finger where the ring used to be. Her silence was deafening, amplifying the heart-wrenching void left by the absence of our coveted heirloom. As my family's financial condition worsened, my grandmother's health declined, and the void left by the ring's absence grew, I was seized with an insatiable need. A need to retrieve what was once ours, to reclaim our past and the hope it held. So, I set out on a worldwide hunt for our family heirloom. My journey took me far and wide across cities and countries, forcing me to confront truly daunting obstacles. But with every step, I could feel the pulsating spirit of my grandmother and the strong, indomitable women before her, luring me closer to the ring. However, as I closed in on the whereabouts of the heirloom, I found myself on the brink of uncovering earth-shattering family secrets. Secrets that had been buried deep beneath layers of time, dust, and deception. Secrets that promised to throw my world off its axis. As I stood on the precipice of a revelation that threatened my understanding of my lineage, the question loomed large. Was the ring just a ring? Or was it my key to the forbidden doors of my family's past? With a deep breath, I continued my journey, ready to unravel the mysteries hidden in the depths of my history, and prepared to face whatever that might mean for me and my family. An icy gust of wind tore through the threadbare woolen sweater I donned that morning, but the chill on my flesh couldn't rival the frost in my heart. A letter, the edges of its parchment aged and worn, rested heavily in my trembling hand. A revelation of betrayal and lost hope that my grandmother had pawned my engagement ring to save us from crippling debt. The ring, a family heirloom passed down for generations, had symbolized a promise of a lifetime of love. And now, it was out there, somewhere in the world tucked away in a dusty pawnshop, or even worse, adorning the hand of a shallow, heartless stranger, purely captivated by its material value. "Grandma, why?" I asked, my voice echoing painfully off the cracked walls of our small, dilapidated home. My grandmother sat hunched in her threadbare armchair, her eyes welling with remorse. She murmured something inaudible, her hands clutching at her worn-out apron. I knew she was drowning in her own sea of guilt and regret, but at that moment, I had no comfort to offer her. The ring had been my only connection to my mother, who had died giving birth to me. It was a symbol of continuity, of deep-rooted love and enduring commitment. Losing it felt like losing a piece of my own identity. And losing it to my own grandmother, that was a stab to the heart I hadn't seen coming. And so, here I am, I confessed to my reflection in the cracked hallway mirror, about to embark on a reckless, worldwide search for a ring that could be anywhere. My words faded into the silence that followed, a silence that wasn't comforting or reassuring. It was a silence filled with fear, uncertainty, and regret. But deep within, a small, stubborn spark of hope still flickered. With a heavy heart, I packed my bag and set off on this daunting quest. Each city I visited was a whirlwind of pawn shops and antique stores, of hopeful highs and crushing lows. The hunt consumed my every thought, stripping away the joy in my life and replacing it with a relentless obsession. Each new lead was a roller coaster of emotions, a wild surge of hope that quickly crashed into a maw of despair when it led to yet another dead end. As I journeyed on, I unraveled deep family secrets that made me question all I'd ever known about us. I discovered tales of love, betrayal, guilt, and sacrifice that colored my perception of everything I held dear. The more I learned, the more confused and heartbroken I became. But I never stopped. I couldn't. The thought of my ring, my inheritance, my connection to my past out there somewhere, compelled me to carry on. Because more than an heirloom, that ring was a symbol of my mother's love, my grandmother's sacrifice, and most importantly, my own resilience against all odds. And I knew I wouldn't rest until I had it back where it belonged. Just a few weeks ago, I was traversing through the vibrant streets of Istanbul. On the face of it, my pursuit for the ring seemed like a thrilling adventure, an antidote to the mundanity of my life back home. But I was slowly starting to realize that the ring was more than just a piece of jewelry. It was a key that unlocked the Pandora's box of my family history, revealing secrets that had been buried for decades. My travels to find the ring had led me to a remote village on the outskirts of Istanbul. Apparently, the ring was last seen in an old antique shop owned by a man named Ismet. With my heart pounding in my chest, I found myself standing outside Ismet's shop. The exterior was weathered and worn, just like the secrets I was about to uncover. I stepped inside, the bell on the door tinkling my arrival in the musty interior. The shop was adorned with trinkets from across the globe. Amidst the clutter, I spotted a small velvet box, carelessly left on a dusty shelf. I opened the box, and there it lay. My grandmother's ring. The diamond sparkled, reflecting decades of love, sacrifice, and now, betrayal. The feeling of having it in my hands was both exhilarating and terrifying. As I held the ring, I was holding a piece of my family's past that was steeped in mystery. As Ismet filled me in on the ring's journey across continents, he revealed the bitter truth about my family's monetary downfall. There had been mismanagement and betrayal, all wrapped in the guise of kindred ties. My father, the robust pillar of strength and silent sacrifice, had been betrayed by his own brother. Uncle Jake, our family's wily financial whiz, had driven our family wealth to the ground. The sacrifices my father had made, working multiple jobs, barely sleeping, just to keep food on the table, everything was painted in a new light. My father wasn't a struggler. He was a victim. The shock was paralyzing. As Ismet's words echoed in my ears, I could feel the ground shift beneath me. Memories rushed by, like disconnected frames of a movie, each frame revealing a painful truth. Uncle Jake's fancy cars, my father's tired eyes, my grandmother's ring, everything fell into place. I felt my heart shattering, my understanding of what family meant crumbling. As I held onto the ring, I held onto the enormous weight of my family's unspoken history. In my pursuit for the ring, I had stumbled upon truths that were as precious as they were painful. I didn't just find my grandmother's ring that day. I found my family's lost dignity. My vision blurred with tears, but my resolve was clearer than ever. The ring was back in its rightful place, and now it was time for justice. I had a long journey ahead, but with the ring on my finger, I felt ready. Ready to take on the Blue Bloods and their lies. Ready to write a new chapter in my family's history. This was far from the end. This was just the beginning. The emotional whirlwind had brought me to the doorstep of my grandmother's small, quaint house in suburban Miami, a place whose homely walls held the secret to the fates of both my engagement ring and my family. The sun began to dip behind the whitewashed houses, casting a glowing halo over the scene. Ironically, here, at the place where I began my wild cross-continental journey, I found the end of my quest. As I walked into Grandma's living room, a wave of nostalgia hit me. I hadn't been there for years, and yet it felt like just yesterday that I'd sat on that very couch, surrounded by family love and banter, the ring sparkling on my finger. Our family had been whole then. I approached Grandma, whose frail form was hunched over her knitting. She looked up, surprise flickering in her eyes. Then her lips curved into a bittersweet smile. "You've found it, haven't you?" she asked. I shook my head and, in a choked voice, muttered, "No, Grandma, I didn't find the ring." But as those words left my mouth, I realized it didn't matter. The ring, it was just a symbol, an object that had caused so much pain, tearing our family apart at the seams. But is that what really mattered? Family was not about heirlooms. It was more than material possessions or symbols of status. It was about love, understanding, and forgiveness. The room fell into a deep silence, our collective breaths bated in anticipation. Finally, It was Grandma who broke the silence. "I sold it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was desperate. Your grandfather's medical bills were piling up, and we were on the verge of losing the house." The world inside my head spun. I had hated her for what I thought she had done. I had embarked on this wild goose chase around the world, fueled by anger and betrayal. But now, faced with the truth, the only feeling that surged within me was regret. Regret for the years I had lost holding onto my resentment, for not understanding, for not being there for my own family when they needed me. In that moment, the missing ring lost its significance. The heirloom itself had not mattered. It was the love, the memories associated with it, the warmth of family that had made it special. And that warmth was right in front of me, in my grandmother's hopeful eyes, in the familiar comfort of our family home. As the tears brimmed in my eyes, I knew, despite the shocking revelation, I had found something more valuable than any diamond ring: family, love, forgiveness. The true treasure that was worth much more than any heirloom. Amid the pain and secrets, I found reconciliation. And in that moment, the ring's real fate became irrelevant. The love and understanding that filled the room were the real priceless heirlooms we had all been seeking.